hello. Hi, VOD people, thank you for joining us. Discord, get your subscription stuff out of here. I don't care about rewards. I don't care. Anyway, hi. Thank you for watching the stream. I recommend skipping ahead, ignore my typing. About probably 5-10 minutes to the actual video if you just want to skip the chatting portion. And as we get started here, I need to tell Discord. There we go. Now Discord knows. And I should go to these as well. Okay. And you. There we go. Alright, cool. There you go. I am absolutely loving Blue Sky, by the way. I started posting on there and I love the culture. Because it feels like Tumblr with the visuals of Twitter, and I absolutely love it. Just downright adore it. Boop. Bloop. Copy that. Boop, yep. And then boop, bloop. Oh, fuck. There we go. Okay. Alright. All day posting is done. There we go. Anyway, hi. It's been a minute. Well, not really. Because the last stream was Wednesday. I currently have a cup of tea, so that's why you're hearing a little clanging. Is it too hot? Just right. Fantastic. I have been working. I've been working because last Wednesday we started 200 days of this horror mod pack. I'm slightly regretting that, but we have done it. So, so what has happened is I decided on stream it'd take way too long for us to do it only streaming, and I wanted it out by Halloween. Because in the 2 hours we only did 10 days. That I would catch up and do recording of it, and then I can use that for the video. And then this Sunday we'd gather at 100 days, and oh boy, has it been laborious in order to get there, because I also had a very busy weekend. I can't remember how much I got done Friday. I know I got a lot done Friday. I know I hit 50 or so days, thankfully. I spent the entire day doing nothing but that. And I think I just barely hit 70, or I think it was 73 Saturday. And then I had a little more time Saturday night, so I managed to hit 90. And I had no clue if I was going to have time to work on it at all today, because I was going to be hanging out with people. But then it ended up moving up early, and we went to a convention, an exotic animal convention, which was really cool because it's not something that's super my interest, but it was my friend's interest. And I also got to see some other things that I didn't expect, because, well, it was mostly, yes, snakes, geckos, spiders. They also had some other animals like hedgehogs and axolotls. Some people had cats. There were 2 adorable Sphinx cats. And lots of rats, too. I grew up with rats. I used to have 2 pet rats. And I understand that the rats are definitely not there for people to just bring home as pets. They're definitely there for the snakes. But they were still adorable. There was one big cage of them. And there were just a bunch of them in a pile, in a sleeping pile. It was so cute. And some of those snakes are seriously adorable. One of them, because we were talking to a person, one of them was just seriously in attack mode, just this little thing. It was an Australian blackhead something, but it was adorable. It was just trying to bite us through its little enclosure. And the guy pulls it out explaining, oh, it just hates being in a cage. And the moment he pulled it out and held it in his hand, it just immediately calmed down. Just a little puppy. Cutest thing. And there was a 3D booth there of like 3D printed stuff. And my nephew seriously loves Halloween. And they had, and he also likes Pokemon. And one of the things they had was Halloween Cubone or Halloween themed Cubone and Bulbasaur. Which was so freaking cute, so I got him a Bulbasaur one. Instead of the normal plant, it was a pumpkin on top, and then the entire Bulbasaur was like painted like a skeleton. Or like, you know how people sometimes dye their dogs to be like skeletons, that kind of thing, but a Bulbasaur. Adorable stuff. I think we're gonna hop right into this. I got nothing else. I need to full screen the game. Minecraft. There we go. And I have racked up 3 more deaths. The first death was fall damage. The second was... I can't remember what the second one was. I know the third one was Cave Dweller. Or that might have been the second one. What was the third one then? Oh, I know what the third one was. It was the Man in the Fog, because I couldn't sleep for some reason. And boy came and chased me, and that was very annoying. Because it's pitch black at night. Which is fantastic. But anyhow. Get back into this. I have been working. As I've said in the title, or said in the go live notification anyhow, and most platforms, we have a new challenge. I've already explained this for the actual video, but my challenge now, instead of, I've spitballed the idea of maybe fighting them. We'll explain where I am in a second. I spitballed the idea of maybe fighting some mobs, and I worked with that for a little bit, and I was gearing up for that. And then I realized, this isn't crazy enough. My whole thing, literally what I have in like all my bios. Oh boy, the boy's lagging. I forget how much the VTuber lags when I'm doing this. Do I have notification off of my phone? No, I do not. That is not a good idea. While I was doing that, I realized, oh, there's not enough madness in this, because almost all of my bios say, what's Minecraft without some madness, and I attach a random quote that I said towards the beginning of streaming. There's a method to the madness, and that method is cranberries, which I have also on most platforms. So there's no madness in this. I've been trying to make it part of my brand and what sets me apart, but there's none to be found. What's the maddest thing I could do? And I realized I'd already been doing it. I baby Herobrine all the time. That's all I've been doing with him. The entire first stream, the moment after I saw him, just baby him around. He just likes to chill. He's relatable. He doesn't talk and he just wants to follow you around. He just vibing. And he doesn't like eye contact. Most relatable guy I've ever met. But I've already kind of, in a way, pacified him. As long as I don't look him in the eyes, which, respectfully, I don't want either. As long as I don't look him in the eyes, he's chill. Problem is, I can't exactly do that with the Man in the Fog or the Cave Dweller because both of them appear and disappear. So does Herobrine, kind of, so we gotta find 3 that I do want to pacify. And so, it's daytime, and so I'm like, okay, let me make a house for them, and that I will also live in. Also, occurred to me, fight? Hello! Fight. it's occurred to me I also have the music going, which is not how I've been doing this horror mod pack. What you missed, Plush, is the new challenge. Oh, there we go. Fantastic timing on the music. You, Lick? What do you mean, Lick? Also, I moved chat if you haven't noticed. Oh, I have my compass up. That's exposing stuff. What did I tell you to not do stuff online, you traitor? Offline. I explained this! I explained this during stream! This was not offline, this is recorded. 30 days happen on stream, the other 170 happen off camera because it'd take months for us to do it on stream. Hey, no kicking. No kicking. You meanie. I said I would do this on stream. I'm busting my ass this entire weekend to get this done. I will not be having this. I'm saying this lightheartedly, Plush, no worries. But I will not be having this slander. There will be a video. There will be a full video on YouTube. Because again, this is a YouTube special. I happen to be streaming it. This is a YouTube special. But you undercooked soggy waffle, how dare. Anyhow, what you missed was that I came up with a challenge, because fighting the mobs isn't quite mad enough. I've been trying to make Minecraft, what's Minecraft without madness? I've been attempting to make madness or just doing crazy stuff as my brand. And yet there's no madness to be found in this horror playthrough. And I figured, what's the maddest thing I could do? And that's pacifying the horror creatures. And so, I hope all your apple juice is slightly too sweet that it makes your face squish. Damn. We have the house. I was working on it and then I hit 100 days, so I had to stop working on it. But it is beautiful. I love this wood. It's a fir wood. Absolutely gorgeous. We got a main hall here for dining. You can humph your all you want. We also need to get materials for this too that I need. I have my mic a little too far away. I don't want to do schoolwork. Damn, that sucks. Kitchen. Little hall back here. Entryway. Hall. We got my room back here. Also, there's a ghost, I think. I should explain this. There's a ghost, I think. Because something's been opening my doors, and I don't know if it's Herobrine. And I don't know all of what Herobrine does, but while I was working on the roof, is it still there? Yes, it is. Yeah. I refuse to break it in case it incurs somebody's wrath. Also, I got a backpack because I realized that these are a thing in this mod pack. But what we're gonna do is something I seriously need, which is windows. I don't got any windows right now. And also this stream, well, if I don't get to all the ones that I want to, because first I want to focus on... And I can always do building after stream. I want to do all the cool shit that I missed out last time. Okay, if I'm overwhelmed or burned out. Oh no. I know. Because it can be hard to tell at first. Burning out usually lasts a while. Overwhelmed, it usually helps if you work through it or around it. Is typically what I know of and from my own experience. Also, I explored a lot more because I had to go out. I went out for Stony Peaks because I seriously needed... And feeling done for weeks, I think it's default. That would definitely be burnout. I went all the way out here for iron. And I died all the way out here. Which sucked. And I also had to go all the way up here for something. I can't remember what. I think it... What? Oh, I wanted to go to a volcano, yeah. I have birth control implant in my arm, right? Yep. Sometimes the muscles around it twitch. Oh, fun. I could feel like... just slowly waiting for the next message to come in. Oh yeah, but what we want to do is I want to actually head out to a savannah, and then one of these is along the way, so we'll hit this. Yeah. Feel like the blood vessels around it. Oh no. Also, I like... this doesn't look that bad from the back either, because I did some work on the foundation. It's pretty. I forgot the vessel word. That's fair. I want acacia for my window, so it... Hey buddy, how you doing? Welcome back to stream. It's been a minute since I've seen you. You want to say hi? Is it alright if I come over? You want to say hi to lovely people? Alright, buddy. I want to know if there's a creature in the weird stone things, these, that I can pacify, because that'd be hilarious. I want to make rooms for them and then make, like, this also kind of works into me making the room for Tull on the SMP, on Passion SMP. Because I need to make a safe room for him, and so I'm kind of learning how to do that on here. Also, I figured out the sounds! I figured out the sounds! The ridiculously loud music, for some reason it wasn't under music, it's under jukebox and note blocks. So I solved that. It's figured out. Seeing doctor on Tuesday, oh dear. I don't know. I don't know. I'm stupid. Tuesday, I'm babysitting first thing in the morning. So that's gonna be fun. Might ask about anxiety meds and antidepressants. I learned that anxiety meds are fantastic for me. So, I got my wisdom teeth out, I think only a few weeks after I graduated, and I knew it was gonna be horrible. I would absolutely need anxiety meds, because at that point, my anxiety was still absolutely ridiculous. I've gotten better with it with time, and definitely, like, going out, meeting new friends, and going out to places with them. Because this new friend of mine lives a little farther away, so typically if we're meeting up somewhere, I end up taking public transit alone, which is helping me get better with stuff. Also, I learned these. It's just horror effects. It's not a mob. It's just a horror effect. It's just spooky. My anxiety meds I took in high school made me fall asleep during class. Yeah. The anxiety med I took before my wisdom teeth thing, I don't remember the appointment at all. The last thing I remember from that day is sitting down in a chair while my mom got me checked in. That's the last thing I remember. I kinda remember standing up and maybe walking to the chair. I don't remember sitting in that chair. I sorta remember walking down that hallway. That's about it. Where am I? I am in the completely wrong area. That's fine. More to explore. Also, I realized I can make this run so much better by simply turning the leaves to fast, and it just makes it run so much better. It's so good. You know what's weird about college? What? I'd imagine the, like, mixed age classes would definitely be a weird one. It's kind of expected to call teachers by their first name. That is a little weird, yeah. Actually, okay, so my childhood best friend is Japanese, half Japanese. And her mom happens to be a teacher at the high school we ended up going to. And I refuse to take any, like, I'm horrible at learning languages, first off. But I refuse to take any Japanese classes, because she was the Japanese teacher, and I knew I would call her by first name, because at this point I had known her for 10 years. I knew I would call her by her name and not her title. I just knew it was gonna happen. Where am I going? I need to go this way. Water, yes. Oh wait, I can show this real quick. because I learned something about that. The villager in that weird house? I think it might be a boss. I didn't stick around for the dialogue. But you have to talk to him. You can't hit him, you have to talk to him first. And he says, oh, I'm gonna turn soon. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. I didn't want to bother with that. Also, I found the Woodland Mansion. It's like yeah, it's right there. So if we so decide, we can do that. Also, I figured out exactly what caused, because I've triggered it 2 more times now. I figured out what causes the day counter. There's a couple structures that switched my day counter back to 0. And I think I've triggered it 3 times since, I believe. Okay, I do have all the right stuff down. Cool. I'm pretty sure I've triggered it thrice since. Because I know I've triggered it once on a pressure plate, and then again, I went around the pressure plate, but then I opened a chest. Then what is it? It was 2. Whatever. Mew the friend. Have you seen the friend, Mew the friend? What friend? Pray tell, what friend? Also, I got a clock. So that exists. Whoa. It cow. I heard a noise though. Don't know if that was good noise. That first restart of the thing? Yeah. I'm probably hearing the villager all the way over here, huh? Yeah, I'm hearing him. I don't know if he counts as a bad mob. We're gonna sleep. Friend, did you go meet him? Me too. Oh, the villager at the top of that? Yeah, that's just a spooky thing. That's not actually a mob. That entire thing has no mobs. I don't know. This guy, I assume, is gonna change into a bad boy, though. So just in case, I'm gonna come over here, and we're just gonna pop this down. I'm gonna set my spawn point. No friends. So far, no. You shouldn't be here. I'm to succumb to this infection soon. Happily. Please do so. Please, come on. I'm assuming he's gonna turn. Persistent, aren't you? Yes. Well, if you want to hear how I ended up like this, then stay. Yes! But if the infection takes me over, I want you to kill me. Happily. Just know, I'm ready to bolt at a moment's notice, but... oh well, alright. Not very long ago, there's another player just like you. I gave him the name Villager number 1202. But I quickly found out that he was different. Wait, did we see this guy? I think we literally saw him. Because remember the first time we found the structure, there was the player, but it looked kind of infected like this guy? We literally saw him. That just connected to my head. Okay, carry on. There would be times where he would smile so wide it looked like it hurt. Oh, fun. You can't do this. I'm dumb. You can't do this to me. He would always stare into space with manic eyes. I took him under my wing and became a member of the now abandoned council. The same council this building served its purpose to. Cough, cough. I grew suspicious of him. Okay. His behavior only got worse in one day. He lured one of those things in here. Are you gonna finish the story? Like he had full control over. Oop. The pain in the embarrassment. You must go. Yep. Yep. It's time. Oh. You're fun. Oh! Oh my, oh my. Why can't I attack? That's not something you can attack. That's not something you can attack. I just lost my bed. That's not something you can attack. That's just out in my world now? I cannot attack that. It has begun. Unleash the infection into your world. Fuck! But is it something I can pacify? It looked like a sweet puppy. Can I bring him home? I have a room. Can I bring him home? He looked like a sweet thing. Can I bring him home? Oh, wait, there's coal blocks under here? Hell yeah, give me those. You had coal blocks? Forget everything else, I want the coal blocks. Oh wait, not my backpack. I kinda need that. Well, that was great. Okay. Fun. Fuck, my mom is driving me crazy. Oh no. That sucks, man. I'm sorry. Oh wait, it's not old days. Stack. Every time I go to use charcoal, I still feel like it's not gonna stack because for some reason in old versions, if you made charcoal torches and regular coal torches, they wouldn't stack together. For some reason the game considered them different entities, even though it's the same thing. This morning at like 7:30 when I was making breakfast, she came in screaming, and her words like a bear, and it just, no. Oh dear. You know, I'm not gonna be able to clean all this up. I'm not sure why I'm attempting. Do I have a flint and steel? No. Okay. I need bed. Give me bed. And similar behavior tonight while I'm trying to push all my mental energy to do this assignment. Ooh, yeah, I hate when people are doing that. It's like you're just trying to get it done, and then all the distractions are popping up. Well, time to go cause a security breach and unleash more monsters onto my world. If I could speak, that would be fantastic. Also, something fantastic I learned, the cave dweller is capable of climbing through 1x1 spaces. I thought I could cheese him. Well, you can cheese him, you just need to stare. But I thought I could cheese him with just a 1 block. Did not work. The coders thought it through. Whoever made this whoever made the cave dweller is an amazing human being. Because they thought that through, and it was terrifying and amazing. Hello, buddy. How you doing? You doing good? Yeah? Okay. You just chilling. I'm slowly getting used to the quiet, because this entire time that I've been, like, recording, I've just had one song on loop in the background, super quiet, to a point where if any, like, any of the game music pops up, then I can just hear the game music. I can't hear my song anymore. Thank you, Nightbot. Ooh, something I learned about these. Hold on. So these spawn the boys that we hate. Like the Bernie bugs. But if we block all that off, right there, yeah, there's a chest. And dark metal, which you can upgrade netherite with. Blaze rods. Okay. Cool. But yeah, dark metal's definitely useful. Ah, it's a crow. My brain feels foggy, you know. Can we lick it? I can try. Blim. Like a cotton ball, but metal. Not fun. Not good taste. Blaze Rod have a good taste? Oh, Blaze Rod have a good taste? Like spicy cotton candy, or not cotton candy. Spicy. Goat! I see you! Goat! Am I even going the right way? Kind of. The fucking cotton candy craze. Evil. Oh, you know what is evil? There's a mod in here called Son of the Sins. And I accidentally discovered these boys. And they have some creepy little guys in them. And if you attack them with your weapon, they steal your damn weapon. Also, these bugs are dumb and will just walk into your water. I have a half-hour drive tomorrow. Ooh. I'm sorry, mate. That sounds like it's gonna suck. So I know for most people, driving sucks. For me, it's just always been... Granted, I'm never the one driving, but for me, it's always just been a nice thing to take my mind off and just sit and exist for a hot minute. I think I might have pulled a muscle around the thigh/knee. Ooh, that's not fun. Yes. Well, my mom will be in the car arguing with my grandma. Yeah, that's not as fun. Slip. Sleep. Sleep. No? Almost. In like a minute. Too small to eat. Yeah. Hello. I love looking into the caves, because it just looks like you're staring into the fucking void. Like, yes, void. Just what I wanted. Bloop. Also, there's something by my house. Oh, we're not doing this again. No, where are you? Not again. Where are you? Fantastic. I don't care about no minor moon. Where are you? Where did you spawn? Where are you? That happens, I'm assuming, from Herobrine or the Man in the Fog. If I am trying to sleep, but okay, Herobrine's over there, that's why. Something laughs. Herobrine, I just want to sleep, bro. What's laughing? Why? You're just a villager. Zombie villagers. Oh, at the old village that we were at, there's just a complete eyesore there. Or did we end up? I don't know if we ended stream there. I think we did. The village at that village is just a complete eyesore of an iron farm because I tried to make one and try to get it working for 40 days and it didn't happen. You gone yet? Yes, you are. There's a spoopy boy over there. Look at him. He's pulsing. Okay, am I allowed to sleep? Yes. That is L on your part, yeah. I tried getting it to work. I tried over and over. I tried several different things. Come on, y'all. Come on. Go. Can y'all finish dying? Please? I would like that to happen. You finish dying, please. Thank you. You too. Feeling I hate the most jealousy. Oh no. What? Oh, you were hiding over here. Okay. Just my own error. Just that error. Okay. Also, honestly, the reason I got through so many of these days... What? Corpse fly. Okay. I. Oh, by the way, this is a two-handed sword, so that's why I'm not using a shield. No, stay away, Bison. I don't care. Oh, not you. Stay away. I don't need your plumes. Oh, wait, I have enough levels. Let me get away from all the bull. I left the anvil at home. Okay, so I need 6 levels to add this onto this. Because the first the first pick I was using has ran out. Or almost ran out, and I don't want to lose it because it has good enchants. So I want to try and combine it. Also, I got a god apple. So that's chilling right here. And developed film. I don't know how to view this yet. I have to get the materials to try a few different things. Admittedly, it's pretty easy. I think what I need, if I remember right, I need like this whole photo booth. I don't need any of that. You need like a whole photo booth and you need to develop the film and then put it on frame. It's a process. What? Oh yeah, weapons. I discovered we have lots of weapons. Chainsaw? Chainsword? Hey, yo! Okay, what are you? Golem Debilitator. Don't want to know. Also, there's Rainbow Birch, apparently. Where is the thing? Where? Why did I just completely pass over it? Was it at the bottom and I just missed it like a silly boy? Are you kidding me? Is it really just on this first page and I'm completely missing it? Yes, I am. I need to make a light room. What the hell? What? Oh. Damn it, Pumpkin. I thought it was the stupid jump scare thing again. You're very patient. Okay, I don't have it on camera because it was one of the times I had OBS paused. But there is a guy that literally just shows up and jump scares you, and I've had it happen all of once. Jeez, I've been trying to get that to send for like 3 minutes. Sounds like a you problem. Also, I discovered the mod pack has two-handed weapons, and I'm so happy. But we're gonna go trigger that. That's the whole security thing. Pumpkin? Blush? Deb? Is that a Deb? Try and Deb? Yeah. And Deb. It's 2 times in a row. Yeah, you enjoy that. There's only one more stream of us. You enjoy your jump scares while you can. I don't think that's supposed to be a thing. This one might be broken. Oh yeah, this one's so broken. Okay, we'll use a different one. Because this entire thing, almost, is broken. It's broken. I'm not gonna use it. We have like a bajillion- we have it at home. We're far away from home. We have it at home. Home? We're here. And then we can do another thing with it. Also, new phone case back is almost done. Nice! Also, I discovered why my alerts weren't working, because I figured I'd test that before stream really quick. Because I figured, you know what, I'll test the sound alerts and make... Shut up. I'll test the sound alerts and make sure that they're working again. Get better toes? Get better toes. What am I missing? What? What? Please explain. When did it say that? Oh, okay, right before you missed it. Okay, okay. I see what I missed. Alright. Am I even going the right way? Hold, where? Yes. It takes forever to get to damn Acacia. Oh, by the way, you might have missed it, Pumpkin. I have no idea how long you've been in stream. We released another horror on the world. So that was fun. Also, because it wouldn't let me preview the sounds that was a gamble on the scream of Freddy. Yeah, because I have a few of those in there, huh? Come on, there we go. Also, some of these biomes are absolutely beautiful, and I'm loving it. Well, I didn't know. I thought it was going to be a boss battle. I didn't know it was going to release the creature on my world, and now it's going to start spawning. Also, I will try to hold myself accountable. I may be a scaredy cat about this. Had to choose my words carefully. For the last 10 days, the next stream we do Wednesday, I will stay up the entire night, all of the nights. So we may do an early stream for that. Release the Kraken. We don't have Krakens as far as I'm aware, but we do have whales and orcas. I did see an orca. We may do an early stream Wednesday, so we can actually get that done. Because each Minecraft day takes 20 minutes, so that'd take 200 minutes over 3 hours. And y'all are amazing. I'm not streaming from 7 to 10 p.m. I am not doing that when there are other people in the house that need to be up early. I barely got away with last Wednesday's I barely got away with last Wednesday's stream. Apparently I ended it just as family was going to bed, so it worked out perfect, but we'll do an early stream. I'm thinking I might move streams up to be early anyway. It'll give me more time to work on projects. Am I still headed? Yes, I am headed the right way. Oh yeah, Pumpy, we're heading out just for Acacia. Because I want my windows. That's the entire reason we've headed out this way. This is the closest savanna. Unfortunately. It's a lush savanna and they have gazelles. It's adorable. There's roadrunners. There's a biome in this that has roadrunners. They are adorable. Also, there's a crocodile. And there's the achievement for getting snatched by one. And my shoulders are hurting me because I've been nothing but sit at this desk since Wednesday. And I am not dealing with pillagers. Y'all can fuck off. Also, dead trees. Because those are fun. Actually, are we at a point that I could just walk? Yeah. Swamp puppies, yes. Is this the one that has roadrunners? I don't remember if it's this or the lush or like somewhere else. There's somewhere around here that has the roadrunners. I know one does though. That's just dead grass, okay. Somewhere around here. Acacia! Gimme, gimme, gimme. Also, it took me so long to realize, but there is a tree chopping mod in this, so this entire time that I've been wasting my time chopping trees, I could just hold shift. I've wasted so much time. Flowers of the savannah. Oh! Why? Obtain an acacia blossom from baking acacia leaves. Why is that an Alex Mobs? Why music? Oh, almost night. Yeah. Kangaroos! They're adorable. Hi, buddy. I'm not gonna mess with you. You spooky. Send a preview of my phone case. Okay. Let me check. Let me grab my glasses. Nice. Discord's being annoying and won't let me scroll down, but what I can see, nice. That's gorgeous. I want to get a couple more trees before we leave. And I do want to see if I can find the Roadrunners. Was it in the lush savanna? I don't feel like it was. Hey, buddy. Oh, bye. Was it? I don't remember where I saw them. I did see them, though. They're adorable. Cutie little things. I feel like it had to be over here, though. Because I saw them in the sand. There's only so many places that have sand. Roadrunners! Roadrunner. Look at him! Oh. He gone. Whoop. There he goes. Okay, life's complete. Did I? Yeah, I have acacia saplings, just in case. Nice. I'm serious. Like, I feel like the security breach thing, it has to be an SCP containment area, right? Because this is definitely the kind of mod pack that they just randomly throw SCPs into. This feels like the type. Also, emus. They're here too. Oh. I think that one, like, went to attack me. Anyway. I've been slowly getting through this. And it's both made me bored and paranoid, which is an interesting combination. Because it's to a point where I've kind of learned the tells. I did not want to do that. It's to a point where I've kind of learned the tells, and I know, like, oh, this music is just spooky ambiance. But if the music starts overlapping, then something's happening. If the music randomly cuts off, then something was happening. And I just didn't see it for some reason. What a wild, though? What you mean? What a wild, though, with you? What a wild thought, oh. Also, like, so that kind of music, unless they just put the song in wrong, then something was happening. Whale! 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 Oh, I love him. Whale! 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 Whales! 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 Okay, life's complete. I want to go near the beaches though. The seagulls keep stealing my golden carrots. Whale! Whale! Whales! Oh, we lost the third one. Anyway. Oh. There we go. And where go? Actually, hold on. Let's just turn it back on. Turn on? There we go. And also, all the things aren't working. So, what? They aren't working, and I don't know why. Cool, but skay? Cool, but skay. What? Cool. Oh. Cool, but skay. Spooky, scary villager. We can get rid of that. Souls of... Oh, right. Souls of the Skelly. That's the thing by my house. Yeah, Souls of the Skelly. I don't know what it is. It looks like a summoning circle. I didn't bother to look closer. It looked dangerous. Doggy keeping toes warm? Nice. Adorable. I had a thought and it was gone. Just disappeared in the night sky. Thought gone. I don't know. What's a thought? That's fair. Well, a thought is an internet slang for a very, let's say, beautiful individual. Trying to get around the definition of that so much while sticking to the definition. Do you think Shadow the Hedgehog would know what thought is? What a thought is? Would Shadow the Hedgehog know what a thought is? Come on. You think he has... No, I'm referring to T-H-O-T-T. Or T-H-O-T. Yeah, I will allow that. Automod got you. Yes, I will allow the word thought in my chat. It was flagged because of misogyny. Anyway. I don't know. Anyway, back on topic. Does Shadow the Hedgehog know what a thought is? And sub-question, if he does he know that Rouge is a thought? No. Okay. You know what? That's fair. I can see that. Oh, because he doesn't have any. You know, we could still be talking about thoughts and not thoughts. Of either kind. Yeah. Don't have one in the world. I could imagine. I feel like Shadow, considering his origins of being like lab made, he would absolutely have no idea how to use the internet. He could be a complete grandpa to internet. I full-heartedly see it. I see him like trying to learn from Rouge but utterly failing. And it takes Omega breaking it down into like the bare bones basics, like almost code slang for him to understand it. Where am I? Ah. He's a boomer. For sure. Then in contrast, I believe full-heartedly that Sonic knows what a thought is, and tries to stop Tails from learning. You have died an average of like 12.3 days. What? What? Also, that's adorable. Someone do the head thing again, please. I beg. Okay, we're good now. Like every 12.3 days you died. You're just doing random math now? I died 5 times in the first 10 days, and then 3 since. once to fall damage, because I was being a silly mofo like that. Complete accident, actually. Believe it or not. Just being a silly guy. The second time was to the cave dweller, and the third time was to the man from the fog. Also, the cassette I had does not go in a jukebox. You have to get a cassette player, and I randomly found a structure that had a villager that sold a cassette player, but I didn't feel like listening to all that stuff because it sounded horrible to my ears. It sounded like a broken record, and so I refused to listen to the whole thing. Have you broken a bone, Mew? Yes. My arm was broken by accident when I was in kindergarten, when I was like 5. And then I have since sprained an ankle. I am not a part of the non-broken bones. I am not a part of the non-broken bones club. Were you trying to cuss that? You don't belong there. You remember this. Yeah, I'm very aware. I broke a bone before I knew what the internet was. I think we're good. Oh, wait. I refuse to deal with the night. Oh, you gotta be... Where are you? Herobrine, get your butt out of hiding. Where are you? There you are. Minor Moon? I don't need no Minor Moon. I would like to sleep. I would like to sleep. Sir. You should look at the comments on the subreddit though, they roast. Fair enough. Sir. Sir. Boy, dude. Come. I just want to sleep. That close in the night? Okay. Can I sleep, please? That would be fantastic if I could do that. Would really love to. It'd be so great. Oh great, the screams of the damned. What the hell? No. Ethereal spirit. Okay. Oh, by the way, something I learned. That's you. That's me before my coffee. Something I learned, nighttime is worse without the shaders. Yeah. Hey, well, at least we can see Herobrine very well. So yeah, it's better to have them on. Because you can't see a single thing without them. Because the lighting is set to moody. And also because... Oh, we would be able to see decently well. Shaders make dark worse otherwise, yeah. You're moody. Fair enough. Can you let me sleep, please? It would be great if I could do that. Are there any other spooky ghoulies? Not next to me, no. Well, you're not worthy of sleep. I would love to sleep. I would sincerely love to. I am but a tired lad that enjoys his sleep. Oh, there we go, he's gone. Okay. Sleep. No, he wants to tell you about his newest hyperfixation. He wants to tell me, but he's too scared to. He just sits there trying to beam chicken nugget thoughts into my brain. What would Herobrine's hyperfixation be? Like, theoretically, what actually is the hyperfixation he's trying to tell me about? Like, I need to know now. Oh. Y'all sharing the brain cell today? Don't you dare. I hear you. He's stalking you. He wants your spine. He can have it. Mine is dysfunctional. Defunctional? Defunctional. Defunctional? Defunctional. Dysfunctional. Dysfunctional. Defunctional. Dysfunctional. It's with a Y, Pumpkin. What? Watches you from a distance. Tell my coworkers I'll take their niece, but majority of 40 plus. So they're like, oh, take the bad one. And I'm like, no, suffer. Yeah. Pumpkin, Plush run. Bleh. I am sorry, Plush. It happened again. Plush got it right. Bleh. I can't say a word with these lips. I can spell a word. Yeah. You spell word. A damn seagull, stay away from me. Don't you dare come near me. I will kill you. You will die. Dude, get your... So mean to seagulls, that's toxic. He's stealing my food! I don't got a lot of meat. I barely have the 18 steak and like 14 carrots. I don't have the food to share. Well, too bad, he's gonna starve. He either dies by my hand or to the elements. That's not a lot of steak. It is not. This is not real life, this is Minecraft. I need to be able to survive on my own. One steak maybe lasts me a day. That's 17 days. I gotta live for another 96. Oh, you dick. Don't you... Seagulls will make me swear in a way that no other can. Oh, you jackass. Hope your future cooking... I hope your future cooking-making adventures burn. Okay. It took a second for me to compute that one. Well, too bad I'm not very adventurous with my cooking. Tasmanian devil! So cute. It's just a guy. What the fuck, man? What did I do? Oh. You're getting bitten, that's what. I needed... First of all, my mic has the way of me seeing the damn screen. Second of all, I need more food. You know what? I hope you stub your toe on the edge of the bed. Wow. Oh, hiccups. Already did. Okay. A fun fact, like, I'm able to move my pinky toes by themselves. I can just kind of sort of disconnect them weirdly. They're hypermobile, I guess is the best way to put it. But it's because I absolutely tore off the top part of one of my pinky toes on like the corner of a wall. And this is an old house. Can people not individually move their toes? Not typically. I had to learn the skill. I can only do my big toe and my pinky. But point is, I put so much bandages on it. that it pushed it off to the side, and then I was able to move it by itself, and then I learned how to do it with my other toe. I think it was my right, if I remember correctly. The word "tor" made me panic. Apologies. Skin? That doesn't help. Apologies again. It's over. You're good. Y'all ready for this? Because I want to check it out real quick. Nope. It's done. Oh, it's done. There you go. Why am I hearing footsteps? Here, Brian, you're allowed to come join us. You're allowed to join, dude. Here, Brian? Damn, I was about to say if we would be twins in the... If we would be... If that were, we would be twins in the tow department. Okay. If it were. Okay. We got two different ways of finishing that sentence. Got it. Alright, I have no idea how this one works. Oh. Do you need corruption? I don't know what you need. That is super cool, though. I thought that was gonna be like a whole boss summon. But nah. You're just chilling. I'm gonna drop off the acacia at home along with all the... along with all the other building stuff I got in my inventory. Boop. Okay, boop. Yeah, boop. Also, I need to, like, explain this. Pumpkin. I'm going to be busy until, like, the end of the week with making this video and editing it. And then, as soon as it's done, I hope I get it done pretty quickly. As soon as it's done, I will be trick-or-treating you. I have to proudly explain this. I brought up the idea of Pumpkin on the SMP that we trick-or-treat each other. And they have a maximum of 5 pranks on me. Am I going? Yes, I am going the right way. Oh, great. I reminded you. Fantastic. I was gonna text you anyway, but figured you're here. You're here, I might as well say. I need to finish what I was doing. Oh dear. Oh dear. Also, I've given the limit of as long as it doesn't kill me or... like, steal my stuff, we're good. Oh dear indeed. There are gonna be so many deers. That would be funny though, to prank somebody with "oh dear" and just leave a bunch of deers on their front lawn. Like fake lawn, words. Just like completely fake deers. Which, you food. I don't know what that is. Ethereal spirit? Well, I can't click on it. I don't know what it does. I got no clue. You're from Born in Chaos. Where is Born in Chaos in this long list? Security Craft, Mr. Crayfish, Son of Sins, more Macaw, still Macaw, Biomes. Biomes of Plenty has flesh blocks. Hair. Pus. Why? Biomes of Plenty, why do you have these? You got rose quartz though, I guess that's cool. Why do you have flesh blocks, Biomes of Plenty? Why flesh? Why do you have blood? Why? Why? Undead revamped to win text. I don't want to know. Zelda reference. Rob Bosch trucks. I'm not even a Zelda player, man. That just caught me off guard. I should not find that as funny as I do. I am tired, man. That's how you know I'm tired. I'm laughing at stupid shit. You know I'm tired when I'm laughing at the stupid metal pipe clink sound effect. Where's the stupid Born in Chaos mod? Comforts, whispering spirits, decorative blocks, macaw again, furniture, horror element, and we're at the bottom. What do you mean? I was born in chaos. That's fair. They got fish tanks? Coffer? Penny for your coffers. What do you mean? It's right here. I passed it over so quickly. Dark metal ingot. I know that one. What is the ethereal spirit for then? Potion of rampage. Sets you on a rampage. Is it used for crafting? What is the point? Transformative flower? Seed of chaos, firelight, bone handle. Dark rod. Life stealer bone. Dark charge. Fused bone. Dark metal upgrade. Gluttonfish eye. Holiday candy. That don't fit in with the rest of this. Mint candy. Transmuting elixir. That's a lot of stuff. Right-clicking turns some mobs and blocks into something else. That would be funny. Just walk up to Herobrine and give him transmuting elixir. Can they even work? Would that work? Hold on. I want to test this. I know this is we're doing a 100-day stream. I want to test this. I want to know, in theory, if it could work. I hit the mic. I apologize. Because if so, my goal has drastically changed and we have to gather these. I no longer need to make them a house. I need to change them into something I was attempting to build. And then I just realized I should just waste away the days and plan on the actual thing. Anyway, Herobrine, do you have a spawn egg? You have your head. Notch's blessing. Okay. The man... Nope. Cave dweller? Cave dweller spawn egg, yes, okay. What was the thing? What was the boy? You. Transmuting elixir. That's not how. Will it work? Hi, CD. How you? It doesn't work on him! No! Why? Oh, sorry, buddy. That was mean. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, CD. Oh, but I'm so- I shouldn't have done that. What does it work on, then? Can I do it on the crow? Crow? No. Can I do it on the damn sheep? No! Right-clicking turns some mobs and blocks into something else. I'm doing it and it's not doing anything. That would have been really funny. That could have been a thing, but no, it doesn't work. I wish it was the Wabbajack. That would be such a fun Skyrim challenge. You have to turn a very dangerous mob into something else with the Wabbajack and then, like, imprison it or, like, capture it somehow. That would be really funny. Coffin! Change? No. It don't work. You're mean. Charm of Endurance, Charm of Fury. Sir Pumpkinhead. Infernal Evil Pumpkin is part of it. Okay. I have something else we can do then. Because I've seen that Pumpkinhead twice now. Oh! I've seen that Pumpkinhead twice now, and so I want to go to a summoning circle and see what happens. The hell? Think I got a little... I want a bee! Think I got a little sugar like crystallized on the rim of my cup. That's not fun. Scratch myself with it. That's not fun. Yeah. My brain is dead. I'm tired. I've been walking around all day. Oh, is it night? Why did I leave it at night? What? Oh fuck, Herobrine! Well, while I'm here, might as well start up on the damn windows. What? Are you directional block? Yes, yes you are. Okay. Bite. Bite indeed. Bite you back. Also, I don't know what it is, but something keeps opening my doors, and I assume it's Herobrine. I don't know for sure, however. Oh right, my ceiling is completely open. I've already forgotten. Hips hurt? Oh no. Hips do just be a pain for no reason. Like, you'd think they would work better when we're using them all the time. But no, they just suck. Like, small pet peeve of mine, they just suck. Do I remember how to make these? I hope so. Yes. And then you take these, and then you make these, and then you take these, and then you make these, and then you do. Round, around, and then you got windows. Can I sleep now? Thank you. Why is my door open again? Stop opening my door! I want that closed. Okay, for real this time, let's drop off all of the building stuff. I want a little bit of that cobble. Then you, and you, and you. You go up. You go up here. I'm at home. With XP. That's the 8. I want the 6. Oh, now they're both 8. Fuck you. Fine. I don't know what to do about the spirit. It's just gonna go in here, I guess. I need food. Cook the food. Sapling. Plant, I guess? Plant. am old. Yeah. What? Oh, I heard a squeak noise and it was just my stupid glasses against my headphones. So, oh. There we go. So plan, we've already unleashed the thing from that building. I want to try the Big Danger and the cool but scary tower. Although there's another one down here that isn't attached to the security thing. And I swore there was another. No? Is that all? I know there's another one here. There was a temple here that I went through that you'll have to watch the video for. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. That's all I want to do. Squeak indeed. Squeak squeak. My hips are mad at me today though. It's annoying. I did like purely accidentally. Okay, I have problems with my legs. My muscles are too tight for their own damn good, despite taking magnesium every damn day, mainly for sleep, slightly for the actual use of it, which is relaxing your muscles. And despite that, my muscles are too tense for their own damn good, despite stretching and what have you. Most things that are out there I've tried. But I did accidentally find a stretch that I haven't seen before that works for me. I don't know why. So I was doing a modified lunge to just, like, help with the tenseness underneath my knee and help that area because that's a little harder area for me to stretch. And I leaned forward and I got a beautiful stretch underneath my hip. And then with my other leg, I was able to get a stretch in my lower leg. And I switched over and great stretch. Fantastic. Although, because it's been a hot minute since I've been able to actually get a damn good stretch like that, my legs were immediately like, what do we do? And so they've been jelly for like a half hour. Well, not a half hour, but because we've been live for an hour and a half. We've been live for 3 times that amount. But for a little while before stream, my legs were just like, Dropped everything off, yes, mostly. Excuse-moi. Okay. Actually want that like that. Okay. We good. Go visit. Hi, buddy. You want to join us? Gotta go visit the Come Back Later Big Danger. I picked up rotten flesh. Come Back Later Big Danger, yes. Hopefully I survive. Oh wait, what? If I remember right, there was wasn't there a basement in this thing? Because I don't know if I saw this on stream or on a recording, but I swore there was an underground part that I refused to go into. So now I refuse. No, I just refused to go in the house. Okay. Yeah, this is the exact one. Okay, okay. No, there is an underground. Oh, you silly. You a silly. There's some good stuff here, though. Oh. That works. Oh. Oop. Oop. Nope. I love having two-handed, man. It's so... Oh! It's so powerful. It's fantastic. Gotta love it. I'll happily take any iron. And there was also arrows. Anything else that looks tasty? Iron. Nuggies. No. What? Emerald, I'll take it. Nope. What's it? Just paper, just paper. thing here. Food. I'll take food. I don't need mushroom stew though. That's not an easy thing to keep in the inventory. Why does it always give charcoal? Why charcoal? It's so useless. Because it's not necessarily a common thing unless you're specifically burning wood. So it never actually stacks in your inventory. Unless for some reason you're purely using charcoal, which... Cool, you do you. But I feel like it's just such a useless item. Or useless loot, more like. Because you can't make a block of charcoal either. So it just sticks in your inventory. Oh. Oh dear. We're all tired boys. We haven't gotten through 5 days so far, at least. Because I will be going on until we hit the full 10 days. I will stick to that. I'm thinking if I need to do roughly 3 hours, for the last 10 days, I will be staying up the entire time. Which means 20 minutes. Why do I have to? Which means 20 minutes every single day. So 200 minutes, which is a little over 3 hours. I don't need wheat or a golden helmet either. So a little more than 3 hours. Oh, I'm tired about college work. Oof. I don't need a lead either. I'm thinking maybe we do that stream at like 1, maybe 2. I'm thinking 1 though. Because 2, I feel like it's gonna push too close to when I eat dinner. Do it later. Yeah. It's hard to do stuff when you're just balls tired. I got something that'll wake you up. This is a complete joke. I got something that'll wake you up. This fucking thing. Cause, oh boy. I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. Oh. I was not ready. Turn off the waypoints again. I'm ready! I still don't know what happened here. Something exploded. I'm not ready. My mom wants me to see the dentist at like 7 AM tomorrow. Oh dear. I'm not ready to do this. Why? Why do you feel the need to do such a thing? Oh, it's these again. So everybody's dead, I get that. Scientists? That's not a good thing. So something went and killed everything. Is it not going to play the music because we already did this? It's dead silent. I'm not sure how to cope. Nether shulker. Is this part of the deeper and darker mod? I feel like it is. With the skulk. Nope. What do you mean? Can I trigger it? Oh, it's a heavy pressure plate, you butt. I literally have to go to it. I saw that light. Come on, turn back on. Because what's in there is horrifying. I saw that. Oh, yeah. That's great. There's a chest in there. A cabin on the lake. Music disc. Feather Falling 4! Happily. You know what? Suddenly this is very worth it. Feather Falling 4 sucks ass to get. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother going in there. It's dead silent and zombie grown. Creepy anthropod? Oh well, it is night, yeah. Please. Oh, it's just that way, okay. I hate the stupid children laughter. Nice try. You can't play the same one a second time. It's just not gonna work. It just don't work. I gotta deal with the stupid sequels. You tried, you failed. Try again. Better luck next time. It won't let me listen to sounds and I don't know which one it is. Good luck. Oh, hi, bye. Music disc. Dude. Can you chill? Chill. Apparently two are the same. No, they're not. I will check it. I am checking it. Unless I seriously effed up, they are not. They have the same name. They are not the same audio. Yet two are labeled jump scare with capital J. Preview. Yeah, you keep going for the first one. The second one also named jump scare. Yeah, okay, let me, for your sake, I will name them different. FNAF, Custom Night Jump Scare. This one. Scary Jump Scare. Scary Jump Scare. Oh, that played for everybody, okay. Jump Scare? Preview. Ah. What? Which one are you? Is that Bonnie? I'm just labeling it FNAF. I think it's Bonnie, but... And last jump scare preview. Broke Mike screaming. There you go. The jump scares are... Or wait, there's one more jump scare. Oh, this is FNAF 3. FNAF 3 jump scare. Jump scare? Okay, yeah. There you go. They are not the same, they just happen to have the same name. Okay, that one's done. Oh, actually, I have the stuff to make it. Boop. I'll use a diamond for this. How long have I been playing Minecraft for? Yay! I think that's like the second or third time I've crafted a jukebox. swear if this is copyright. Spoopy. You like the song, buddy? We're gonna ignore the voice crack. Yeah, like the song, buddy? Yeah, spoopy. You want to come over and listen to it? No? Okay. I want to listen, and I feel like it might just be a music disc, but it could very well just summon a monster. We're gonna ignore my tea. Is this it? All of that for a music disc? And no creatures? Okay. Useless. That's not what I wanted. Just useless. Got it. What time? I wasted. Oh no, it's only 3. Okay. And then I don't need that. I do want that. And then across the lake to the other thing. The tower, the spooky guy out front. My bow isn't that good, but hopefully it's alright anyway. Don't you dare. Don't even. No. No. Stay away. Thank you. This right way? Yes, right way. $106. It's hard to get excited when I know I still have 100 days. It's gonna take so long. AKA, it's gonna take me till Wednesday because I have to grind these out. I have no idea how I'm gonna manage another 100 in 2 days because I barely managed it in 3. Granted, these next 2 days and tonight, I have the entirety of the day almost. I have to babysit a little bit Tuesday morning, but otherwise it should be fine and I should have enough time. I should. And I'll have a little bit Wednesday morning, perhaps. Cookie boy. How you chillin' out here? Cookie boy. Are you here, girlfriend? There's a snail. Cookie boy. Okay. Okay. Ow. You're friendly, right? Yeah, we're friends. We're fine. Hey, boop. What? What? Oh, you suck. You suck. Nope. Hi, buddy. Hi, buzz. How you doing? How you? Come on. Come fight. Oh, you chilling there. Oh, yes. Is it gonna give me it again? No? Good. Can I place there? No, I cannot because you're there. There we go. So I just want to reach that. Or like any of these would be great to be able to reach. Oh, you stupid thing. Should set my spawn anyway. You suck. Which one are you? That's a zombie spawner. I can't see anything. There's a spider over there. I'm barely seeing anything, but it's fine. Alright, your stupid hitbox was fixed. Spooky bash. I hate their sound effects. Fantastic sound effects. But I hate them. You suck! Oh, they got strays. Beep. 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 Oh, you suck! You get your butt over here. Get your butt. Okay, I just need to go for it. Oh, every time I go after one, okay. But I gotta take a... I hate you so much. You are so annoying sounding. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I hate your sounds. Case is done. Nice. I still have the stupid mining fatigue! I only have the stupid cave spiders! This is why I hear your sounds. This is why it's constantly your sounds. Your stupid pathfinding is so dull. No. Okay, which one? Crab skeleton, I don't care. Okay, the one for the spiders is upstairs more. Oh, shit. Oh, there are too many cave spiders. No. That is not a thing that will be happening at all. I don't feel like that's a thing that's possible. You suck. You suck so much. I hate cave spiders with a passion. You suck! There's still another one! You suck! No! No, get your butt away from me. No. I hate you. No. Well, I hate that. I refuse to go against cave spiders. They just purely suck. And I need to sleep so I can speed this up. Blood Moon? No. No. Haha. We can have that the last 10 days. If we do not get a Blood Moon in the last 10 days, I accept that I will for 199. I will cause a blood moon if we do not get one in those last 10 days. I will find how to cause it and cause it. I don't even know what's causing the moons like to be like this, but I will find out. Anyway, it looks like for the next little bit, next 30-ish minutes for the last of this, we will be building, because I don't know what else to do. And I need to get the damn house done. Well, that brought no more creatures. What creatures are in this? Okay, we've been going at this 100 days. I want to know what creatures are actually in this. CurseForge is taking forever to load. Let's move to this for a second. What is actually in the Cave Horror Project? Apollyon, Arthropod Phobia expansions plus horror bosses. Stalker bosses, beware the thunder, truly overwhelming and ominous forces of nature, survival will not be the stalking dweller-like boss entities are death incarnate. Possessing advanced mechanics to terrorize and stalk you down from long distances, ranged weapons when possible, and high mobility recommended. Hallucination entities foreshadow their rare appearances, marked with a lightning strike. Also summonable, dropping powerful items on death. Demon lords originate from another dimension of pure suffering, manifesting as hybrid arthropod abominations. It's Mothman! It's fucking Hold on, let me pull this up in browser so I can show you guys. Can I pull up just the entire mod pack in browser? Yes. Where is my source? Window capture, there we go. Okay, so all the mods. This is all I knew at first. Man on the Fog, Cave Dweller, Herobrine. I didn't even realize Apollyon. Spider Moth. That is the Mothman. That's the one I just read. And not comments. I want the mods. I want to see each of the mods. You suck. The hell is Apollyon? Beginning of the world's end. You've been cursed to wander the depths of this realm alone. Am I allowed to window capture CurseForge? Yes. No. Never mind. I want to capture CurseForge. Okay. Idea? Let's do... There we go. How do... I just... No. Not you. You. There we go. I just want to cut off my own screen. Or my hotbar. There's a shit ton of sirens speeding towards me and it's making Coyote Fat go wild. Oh dear. That's not good. Damned. Yeah, I don't know this thing. I don't even know if I've seen this thing yet. I'm not sure. Or mod designed to add a dangerous entity to your world. Wasn't the... Because if I remember... I read through the Villager books. I think I did that on a recording. I did read through the Villager books at some point. The Villager that released that horrible thing... I think it's this. They are not dwellers. They despise that name. They are resilient creatures. They are infecting your world. They do not leave unless they are They kill or are killed. They are behind you. They choose only one target. They are in your mind. They have a chance to haunt you rather than hunt you. They are everywhere. Okay. I got no clue. Better title screen. Cave Dweller, yes. Cave Dust. Born in Chaos is one of the ones that we've been looking at. And it was the... Wait. Video and reviews. Undead. Crap Skeleton. Skeleton Dome Man. Decaying Zombie. Okay, we've seen some of these. Baby Skeleton. Bone Imp. I wanted to go to the Nether. I forgot about this. Okay, we need to do that. I'm not building. We will do that. Door Knight. Zombie Clown. I've seen one of these, actually. Fisherman, Lumberjack, I've seen one of those. Swarmer, Browser, Thrasher, I've seen plenty of these guys. There are so many of it. Hello. Life Stealer, okay. Spirits, okay, we just saw the Restless. Pumpkin Spirit! Neutral mob by itself can be found on a small farm like an iron golem, attacks all monsters defending the territory, extremely vulnerable to fire. As soon as he becomes in contact with fire, he will be curbed by the spirit of the flame, after which he will turn it into a seared spirit. You can make your own scarecrow. To do this, build a structure out of 2 dark oak logs, a block of hay, and a carved pumpkin, then right-click on the pumpkin with a spirit item. We can this is one we can pacify. We can literally make it. This is one of the ones we can do. Okay. That's a plan. Hello. You look like a fun boy. All his hands are built the same way mine were back in the day. I used to draw Mew's hands like this. Extremely dangerous spirit, but it looks like such a good boy. Appear starting from the 3rd night of your game so the player has time to prepare for meeting with him. The beginning of the Stalker's spawn is accompanied by a It's gonna be one of those days. There's a shit ton of science. Okay, that's alright. Yeah. Accompanied by a characteristic sound and a message in the chat. Appears completely invisible and all you can see is 2 glowing. I've been seeing this guy then! 2 glowing eyes. While the Stalker is in invisibility, he moves much faster. When he receives damage, I swear that was another mod. He loses invincibility. The Night Stalker notices the player from a great distance, up to 70 blocks, immediately starting to stalk its victim. When attacking a victim, the Stalker produces a piercing scream and casts a gaze of terror on it. This effect causes blindness in the target of the I swore I got this at one point. I don't know when, but I swore I got this at one point. I might be just dreaming of it. The blindness on the target of the Stalker, plunging him into complete darkness, and also gradually steals vital forces, thereby healing the Stalker. While under the effect of the Gaze of Terror, you'll also be unable to use some magic items. The longer you survive in the world, the stronger the Stalker becomes, gaining maximum strength starting from day 100. Well, we're already there. That is not a good boy we can take home. Missionary. I swore this was the Plague Doctor. No, it's a missionary. The mini-boss spirit appears only starting from the 10th day of your game. Always appears with 2 zombie villagers. It fights by firing magical projectiles at the player, and when it hits the target, it summons an evocation fang under the victim's feet. At the beginning of the battle, it can cause rain. When receiving damage, it periodically teleports, and after a couple seconds, summons random undead. The ability to teleport and summon can be blocked by an effect of magical depletion or attacks from the Nightmare Scythe can drop random charms after death. Mr. Pumpkin! Rather slow and weak spirit appears naturally from October 25th to November 5th. We're going to be streaming that day? No. No, we will not. I apologize. Maybe on Halloween Day, when we're getting tall, we can log onto this world just so we can see Mr. Pumpkin. Also comes the aid of Sir Pumpkin during battle. Sir Pumpkinhead, look at you! Mini-boss appears in your world only from October 25th to November 5th in honor of Halloween, or you can summon him by destroying a special pumpkin surrounded by candles you meet in the world. Okay, so we can literally go do this right now. I know where 2 of these are. The boss has 3 main phases. In first, he rides on his horse, attacking you melee, inflicting a bundle of the soul. This effect slows you down and deals damage after the expiration. Also periodically teleports and calls on Mr. Pumpkin. In the second, the pumpkin head pardon me. Excuse me. The pumpkin head separates from the horse, and while the horse attacks you in the vicinity, pushing away from the owner, the rider itself shoots at you with explosive pumpkins, still teleporting and calling for pumpkins. In the third, the boss detaches his head from the body, and while the body fights you with a soul bundle, the head shoots and teleports. Your final target is the head. As a reward, you will receive a guaranteed pumpkin staff. And you can also get holiday sweets, a soul saber with random enchantments, as well as a unique music disc. Lord Pumpkinhead! Okay, yeah, that's a fully fledged boss. Right click on Infernal Evil Pumpkin, no matter whether created or found using Transmuting Elixir. Oh, so that's what that's for. Okay. Boy, that added these. Okay. I love and hate these. I've come across, I think, 2 spots of diamonds now that had these guys instead of normal diamonds. Basically, when you destroy diamond ore, it will release these guys. Once you destroy it, termites will come out of the nearest ore. Termites have increased armor and bites inflicted fatigue. And crab, corpse fish, glutton fish, hello. Dreadhound, direhound. Dreadhound, that looks like a boy we can pacify. They hunt most type skeletons and are also aggressive towards the player. Well, however, if you have not attacked them, then the hounds can be appeased by giving them a bone or a stab skull by pressing right mouse button. We can! This is the second one we can do! The Pierced Hound will not attack you until a certain time has passed. If you hit her, she'll start attacking you again. You can also meet hounds in small packs in the desert near gnawed bones, such as hounds do not appear until you kill them. So we can absolutely get this guy. Dire Hound Leader. Rare in the world. Rare in the world. He can also be appeased with a bone. I want a Dire Hound. I want 2 of these. I will count this as one thing. I want to get both of these if possible. I don't care about anything else. Okay. I'm writing these down so I don't forget. Because I know I will forget. Because we want the pumpkin spirit. We want the pumpkin boy. The first pumpkin boy. Yeah, the pumpkin spirit. I want him. This is a brand new pen. Hello. Pumpkin spirit. This is the sloppiest I've ever written, and that's saying something, because I'm just holding the notepad in my hand instead of on the desk like a normal person. And then Dreadhound and Direhound. I'm gonna label this puppies, and then put underneath each of them. Dreadhound. And then Direhound. That does not look like dire at all. Dire. There we go. So technically, if we need to, that's 3. But I would like to do more. My phone is going off. If we need to, that is 3, but I would like to do more. I don't have the balls to do... I don't have the balls for this. There's a... What is that thing? What is that thing? Scope new mobs. Corrupted skeleton annihilator. What is this little guy? My neck hurts. I am sorry. Oh. 3 hours later, I finished my case and finished cutting it out and putting in the new case. Nice! My neck hurts. Oh dear. What is this? 1, 2, 3. Is it a stalker? Mob who appears a set. Dish is done. Be back. Okay. If Saturday's puncher falls in my break it set, the most dangerous creature in the deep dark. The creature, totally devoid of life, seeks to eradicate anything that resembles its original creators. Unlike most skulk beings, it doesn't rely on hearing or smelling and can sense your soul. Is it that guy? Does this go back in? Because this is obviously the corrupted skeleton. Annihilator. Probably that guy. Spreader. This one's probably the spreader then. Screenshots? Do you have one specifically for some of the mobs? Okay, great. So you're not going to tell me what the adorable key thing is? I want to know what the cute little thing is. Actually, while we're not... Words. While we're... while we're not on the world, I will let music play. Leon's Tax. Leon's and Tax spooky music trader. I've yet to see one of these. I want to see what? I think this is... Okay, this is the anomaly we saw. Does this have to do with the villager? Is this the same thing as the villager? Is this a different one? Anomaly Steve, like a normal creature that slipped into your Minecraft world, run from it. Do you just... Is it just a thing you randomly find? Or does it have to do with that villager? I assume... Okay, so what I think is I was incorrect. The anomaly has nothing to do with this one, which I think this is the villager. I'm not sure. I don't know what the villager is from. Because there's the anomaly. Son of Sins. These guys suck. These guys suck. They steal your weapons if you fight them with it. Once killed, each sin drops a unique relic. Okay. Hello. Oh. Wait, what? Hold on, I need to read through this now. With the flesh and organs you have picked up, you can make a flesh carcass. Inside it, you can place the organs of your choice in ether, ash, and a bottle of blood. Then the carcass can be dropped in a puddle of blood to give it life. Once the ritual is over, a gubbler will emerge from the fluid, and it will take the affection of the nearest player and adopt the abilities associated with the organs you gave it. Creeper organs will make the creature very unstable, and if it dies, then it will probably implode. Our golem organs offer greater resistance and immunity to deadly falls. Slime organs allow your flesh son to replicate into two identical clones if it comes to die. Enderman's organs will makes your creature less tangible, dodging attacks by teleporting elsewhere. Strider's organs make Gubbler. I'm gonna stick with Gubbler. Gubbler's skin's more dry and fire resistant, but it makes it hydrophobic. Ravager's organ, will endow the creature with a Hercules strength. Blaze organs boil your creature's blood at such a high temperature that it will eject burning steam around it. Spider organ will make your creature's blood so acidic that it will poison anyone. Snow golem organ will put... It is Goldber. Okay, Goldber, Gubbler. Goldber. We're gonna stick with Goldber then. Snow golem's organs will put your Goldber's blood between solid and liquid state. It can live at very low temperatures and freeze anything, the ground, or enemies. Look at it! Hello, there's a lot of different things you can do. I could take different forms too. Okay. I think I want to get the boy. I want to get a Golber. Golbear? How do you say that one? Can I copy? I'm gonna Google how to say how to say it. Bet. Gulp. ER. So Golbur. Yeah? I'm gonna stick with that. Golbur. That's adorable. I want a Golbur. Golbur. It's so cute. So cute. The end of Herobrine. Okay, yeah, we got Herobrine. And then up here, although I skipped over it from the fog. Oh, I have 2 Herobrines then. Because I'm assuming by the sign that means he can play signs. No? Which one? Okay, from the fog, we have Herobrine there, but there's a Herobrine here. The end of Herobrine. And like other Herobrine moms, you don't have to spend hours gathering resources to build a totem for him to start haunting you. He's already in your world before you join it, and only your actions will determine how hostile he becomes. Been divided into the following variants. Actively stalks players, occasionally finding new spots to observe them. Builder. Places, structures, letters of his name, traps, and signs. Ow! And 4 more in development. Okay. So I had a lurker, right? I think we have a builder now. Because he started placing signs. Okay. What are you? The Undead Revamped. New types of undead. Oh, I think we've seen some of these, yeah. Are you the reason I have moonflowers? Yes, you. These things. Oh, the pig thing. That just explodes stuff. Oh, I've seen this guy once. I don't know why, I don't know how. Created by the man from the fog, adds a single entity with many mechanics and events. It will stalk, jump scare, or attack you based on various situations. Thanks to the enhanced mechanic and knows where you live. Great. That doesn't tell me anything. Well, looks like I got my 3 mobs. Yeah. I don't know what to do about the anomaly. And I don't know what to do about the anomaly. I feel like it should have 2 M's. I want to do a video, but it hasn't shown up in my damn world. I don't know what to do. I still don't know if this is from the villager. Oh, Dweller. I don't know. I'm gonna assume the villager is from Apollyon, because I saw that when I was reading about it in the game. There's books you can read. We can't do anything about the cave dweller because it comes and goes in as it pleases, and so does the man from fog. And then we have Herobrine. Okay. So we got the 3 that we can do. 2 of which we can summon, and I want 2 puppies. I don't know if we will be able to find the Dire Hound, because that seems like it's a really hard thing to get. But I want it. And so we shall. Okay. I want to go to the Nether. I want to see what's up in the Nether before I forget, because I wanted to do that on stream, because I have no idea if there is anything in the Nether or not. And I wanted Blackstone for something or other. And I want the option to be able to get Blackstone if I so wish for the interior. So I would like to do that on stream. And I'm definitely, after stream, gonna have to spend some time walking back to the dark oak forest so I can get dark oak to spawn the pumpkin spirit. Is this right? Yes, that's right. Okay. Hopefully opening the nether doesn't cause anything bad. I have music on. There we go. Hopefully going to the nether doesn't cause anything bad. Hopefully. I can only hope. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about when I said the void. It's the void. You can't see a single thing into it. Although, turning off the texture pack makes it so much brighter, but you can see even less. It's somehow worse. So I will keep the shaders on. And also, I feel like that's just too bright. It's just too much. Void. Also, the bison will attempt to attack you if you stay in one spot for too long. I narrowly missed it at one point, and I've been cautious of them since. Wait. I just realized I had another death. Did we end that first stream with 4 or 5 deaths? I swear it was 4. Because if not, I'm wrong and I have to update that counter. How many deaths did we end with? 4. Okay, we're good, we're good. I just realized I did have a 4th death that I didn't mention because I thought I ended the first stream at 5 deaths. No, I ended it at 4. There's a 4th death. I went back over this way. Where are you? Over this way to this thing that caused all the BS that first time, and I had to reset my day counter, and I died around here to some bullshit in the middle of the night. Can't remember what it was. I just remember it was super fast and it was chasing me. And I could not escape. And I died. But yeah. If we're going to the nether, I need more obsidian. There's only one lava source block there, unfortunately, though. And the closest lava pool I know is the one at spawn. Yeah. Okay. Slight change plan. Gotta head to spawn. Or we might just make one there. Because if something does happen with another portal, I would prefer it to be away from my house. I shouldn't necessarily need to go to the nether. My plan is not to beat the game. I just want to make it to 200 days and also get some friends along the way. And we will be doing that. Hi, buddy. How you doing? He just chillin'. Oh, I apologize. I hit the mic. Y'all could see my abomination. This stupid thing I made. That has yet to work. I got to spawn 2 iron golems, but they both spawned in the wrong spot. They both spawned in the same chamber as the villagers, which is where they're not supposed to be. And then I spawn-proofed that, and they wouldn't spawn, so I changed the blocks of the platform, and they wouldn't spawn. Or the spawning platform, and they wouldn't spawn. I don't know who did it or what the fuck it was, but I'm done doing the dishes. Oh. Positive, negative. I can understand the vibe of the statement a little bit, but the next time I touch something with the consistency of a curdleized raw egg. Okay, negative. I'm going to scream, yeah. Damn, that's... I'm not good at comfort. That sounds like it sucks. I'm like the worst at conversation. I can talk anybody's ear off about stuff I like, but that's the nastiest shit ever. Yeesh. Sounded like it sucked. Actually, we could... I might be able to use the spawn portal. Huh? Also, I finally figured out what the H was. I think I've already pointed this out on the video, but whatever. Where is it? So the glowing red H. How's the spooks going? Going good. We got 4 mobs that we're gonna get, maybe 3. That thing is what spawns Herobrine in the world. I need to turn the music back down. I forgot to do that after the song. There we go. We're gonna get a pumpkin spirit. We're gonna get a dreadhound and a direhound, if possible. The direhound was said to be more rare, so that might not happen. And then we're gonna get a Golber, which is another one you can spawn in. And it's a friendly boy. Yeah, just... And music gone. Cool. Yes, pumpkin spirit. You remember the friendly scarecrow? That's a pumpkin spirit. You can spawn him in. So we will be doing that. A friendly scarecrow, dude. Hold on, let me pull it back up again. Cursed Forge, can you please load? That would be fantastic. I will hold your horse. Hold your singular horse. This mod. Scroll. Also, was it this? No. It was Born in Chaos. It's held now, what? Keep holding it. Spirits. This dude! We're gonna bring him home because you can make him, and I just got this item. Look at him! As long as he don't touch flames, we're good. If he touches flames, he turns into this. But we gonna bring this guy home. And then the other one, he looks like a good boy, but sadly he's too strong for me. He's already hit maximum strength. Nice. Also, there's these 3 guys, but they typically only show up 25th of October to November 5th. I can force this one to spawn in. This guy, you gotta craft stuff to get him. I don't feel like doing that. I hope you know exactly what dance I just did. I think so. Oh, then I want these 2 boys. I want the Dreadhound and the Direhound leader. And then... Is it Chaos? No, it's Son of Sins. Son of Sins. Son of Sins. Son of Sins. My cat is attempting to get into a bag. This guy. Cat. Just sit in the damn bag. Thank you. This guy. He's adorable, and we're gonna make him as I can. Also, how the hell do I get blood? Blood can be mixed with ashes in a bucket to create a bucket of blood that can heal you. The sickle of struggle. Oh, pardon me. It allows you to spam click against a little of your food, but also to collect blood in glass bottles. Blood can be mixed. Pardon me. Okay, yeah, we read this part. How do I find blood? How do I get the blood? What? What? But how do I get the blood? Because I need the blood for this too. How do I get the blood? Where is the blood? By damning the souls of the innocent to get a bagel. No, 2 bagels. But yeah, these guys suck. No! Where? It doesn't say how to get blood. I'll have to watch this later. Anyway, that's what we're doing. I should turn off display capture. There we go. But first, we're going to the Nether, because I want to have the ability to get Blackstone when I want. I have no idea if anything in this changed up the Nether. I assume it did, because I know there's scorched planks. And I don't think... I know there's scorched wood, and I would assume that's in the Nether. I assume, anyhow. Steal the corner. Actually, wait. The one piece of obsidian that I've been harboring this entire time. This is my longest stream in a hot minute. Yep. It has occurred to me that I actually don't. Oh, great. Fantastic. I don't have flint and steel. Oh, so just in case, you never know. Fantastic. Yeah. What'll happen? I don't know. It could be completely normal. It's normal. It's just echoey. Yep, same old, okay. It's normal. I wanted to make sure I at least did that on stream. Just in case it was something chaotic and cool. On the off chance that it was. Okay, now we head home. Preferably before it gets too dark. Actually, it's about to get dark. Come on! Time. 9:50, of course it is. Of course it is. And I'm almost out of tea. And now I am out of tea. Fantastic. Come on! Come on! Come on! Hear you out? Oh? What is it? What? Next time I decide to change my phone case. Uh-huh. Do I need to convince you not to paint it? Keep in mind I had the same one for 3 years. Yeah. I'm not sure where this is going. I still can't get over the silence. I'm not a fan of the silence. I should make it the TARDIS. Ooh! That's a cool idea. Especially if you get like a wallet case. And so you could have it fully covered. That'd actually be pretty cool. Now I'm getting hella tired. With the one I just finished. Just slow sentence by sentence. Oh, Dusty's being cutie. He's sleeping on his blanket. I should know where home is at this point, but I really don't. You can look in your chat to see what I did. Okay. I am looking. You bleach your hair? Didn't you just color it? Anyway. I'm confused. I'll basically cut about yeah. At first when you were talking about it, I thought you were gonna, like, paint it directly on, but it makes so much sense for you to do the paper instead. I right place? Almost right place. Okay. So when you have to change it, I won't have to spend an arm and a leg. Ah, okay. Fair. Gotta push through these last days. I am so tired. I want to go sleep. But I got to do this. Hello. Okay. Also, I tried at first to get something with the redwood for the base, but I'm like, I just don't like this wood. Because it's like a blood red redwood. And I'm like, I can't think of anything good for this. You totally didn't type your name. I bleached my hair in like the middle of September. I swore you colored it recently. No, hold on. I'm checking another chat of ours. I swore you colored it recently. Or was it just the way you styled it that day? $9.20. I bleached my hair damn near a white. It's why there's a color difference from bleach to the deep ginger. $9.20. It is $10.20, a month ago exactly. I guess that is bleach, yeah. I swore it was like a pink or something. Maybe I'm thinking the last... What did you dye your hair last, before the bleach? Because I swore it was a different color. Yeah, to bleach it too. Okay. That's why I'm confused. Bleach twice. That's where I'm confused. Got it. I'm getting confused by the little details. When I went and visited, it was about that purple color. Okay. I'm putting together a story. I'm getting it. My mic's in the way of my screen again. I am loving the echo effects inside the house, though. Stop opening my doors! I will ground you here, O'Brien. I had to wait like a week not to fry my hair. Got it. Okay. I understand now. And I shoved everything over here. In this one. Thinking what I have time for and what I don't. Time is 15, roughly. Let's do windows, and if I have time, you can join me for doing the roof. Because I seriously need to get this done. And I got no other plans for stream, so you're joining me in the progress. And I need to get up there. Barely. I tried the willow, I'm just not... Fuck. I'm just not a fan. Ooh, barely. Burp. Okay. Ooh, nope. I tried. You can give me the credit for trying. And then we got a room in here. Doot. And that's not a window. And then in here. A doot. A doot. So we got 2 rooms. I'm thinking I might do a 3rd room upstairs. Although I don't know if we need it. I want to... Because we'll have the pumpkin spirit. We'll have the dreadhounds. Perhaps. Maybe both. And then we'll have the Golbur. So I'm thinking Golbur... Or maybe Golbur in here. Pumpkin spirit in there. And then the hounds stay with me in my room. Dude, my brother took a chair that used to be in the living room to sit on when the house flooded, and I just sat in it and tell me why it smells like a teenage boy. Oh dear. Well, I think that solves itself. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. He's a grown man. Oh. The second puberty that everybody jokes about? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. 8 windows. Do I have enough? I think I'm just barely short. Two more. I just needed 4 more. I missed this one. Stick. Acacia. I need glass, right? Not panes. Have to run all the way down to the beach for a stupid piece of sand. That's not how I go out. I go out this side. It's this way, not that way. What time? 8:17. Do I have enough time? What? 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 "20 minutes of typing later." What? You are confusing me. Oh. Gimme. My friend just asked my other friend if they've introduced their nephew to Dan TDM or popular MMOs yet. And if not, then Stamby Cat. Are you talking about the conversation I had in that group call with you a few days ago? Or is this another friend? Okay, different friend. They went, "It's up for Pumpkin to decide to watch. I can't force them all." And I had to chime in that they had the wrong friend. Eh? I am confused. I am very confused. What? I don't think I ever mentioned... They thought that my friend, inside joke, but I could call them my uncle, was you. Oh. Okay. So they chimed in thinking that the nephew they were talking about was me? Okay, now I understand the humor. Okay. I needed the context. I understand it now. That is great. I'm losing it. I bet. Also, can I make it home before it's completely dark? I don't think so. But it'd take time to pull out the torches, so we're just... Minor Moon. Okay, Minor Moon's not bad. Minor Moon is far from the worst thing that could have happened. Oh yeah, we're fine. I can soak it in the house. Moonflowers? No. Get out of here. No. They just went, oh god damn it. My nephew did greatly enjoy popular MMOs, though. I don't think I mentioned this, but to relay you the message, have you introduce him to those three? I did introduce him to popular MMOs, and he liked it so much to the point where he was completely enthralled. He was just full focus, sitting still, watching it, which is certainly saying something for a damn near 4-year-old. And where does this go? Here. And at the end of it, when he had to get picked up and we had to stop watching, he told Mom that he had to watch more at home. We have yet to watch more because we've been watching scary movies when we have the time. They just texted me, by the way. They just sent me a paragraph that I'll read later. Okay. Now I can make the thing. It should be enough. Oh, but I need 8, huh? Doot. Doot. Because you need 8 minimum. Oh. There we go. That's what tickled your funny bone out of everything going on? Windows. Fuck. And then last one. Okay. We all good. Oop. And what? We're on 109. Almost midday. Oh yeah, we can go do a little bit. Little bit of work. Can't get around my own house. There we go. I want to do a little trim around this outer edge. Something like this. And just do this around it. I don't know if it'll look any good. So this is a bit of a test. I'm hoping it will, and it should match up with everything else I've been doing. And then like so. They're trying to figure out where you're streaming. Right here. Just send them a link. It's easy as that. You can always steal the link from the stars. From the Discord. I don't have the blocks. I need more blocks. I've been running around with like everything shoved in my backpack. I need my blocks back. Yep. Just give me. Just give me. Sounds like life. Fair enough. I need to throw those out into their proper places. Oop. And then you. Here, Brian, stop sneaking around the house. Hello, welcome. Hi, Astral, how you doing? I don't know what name you want me to call you on here. That's not what I need. I want this space at least a little bit organized. You. Astral's fine. Alright. Sup? Hello. Welcome to this stream of sorts. This is a horror mod pack I'm doing for 200 subscribers and also Halloween. I need to throw that up there. I'm trying to organize and talk at the same time. It's not working. I'm doing good other than a small sleep deprivation, but it'll be fine though. Also, the VTuber is very laggy purely because of the mod pack. But the mod pack looks like shit if I don't have... Where's you? if I don't have the shaders on, because without it, this is not a horror mod pack anymore. This is too bright. We're going to catch a pumpkin man. Yes, we are, eventually. I thought, what's the maddest thing I could do in this mod pack, in a horror mod pack of all places? And so we're gonna pacify/capture several mobs. We're gonna get a pumpkin spirit, we're gonna get 2 puppies, a dreadhound and a direhound, and then a Golbar. And a Golbar is a very weird creature that I could not explain. He just exists. I don't know what more to tell you. Oh hooray, happy spooky month. Good luck with horror stuff, lol. I have my own mod pack mixed with Vanilla Plus so I could turn off the incomprehensible horrors if I want to. Yeah, I can't do that here. Also, we baby Herobrine. Welcome. Herobrine chillin'. He vibe. He says, I'm not welcome, but this is my house. If you can have your tantrum elsewhere. This is a person you can blame for my texture pack, by the way. Ah. I didn't pull out the blocks I needed. There we go. Is that how I want to do that? That doesn't look right. Okay. Yes, that. This? Which way did I do it on this side? That way. Not gonna lie, this house looks like a McMansion a bit. I can see why he might be slightly upset. I'm just rolling with it. I like making wonky houses. And so we've ended up with this. It's just a wonky boy. Yes, okay. Now the question is, does this trim look good at all? Can I? Yes. Does the trim look good at all? Hi buddy, bye buddy. I think it will look better once we get it more done. If not, I can always get rid of it later. It'll take some time, but whatever. Bloop. Yeah. But we're just chilling out until I reach day 110. Because I want to do... I did the first... It should still be up? Yeah, Wednesday. It looks like the trim's outside New England Victorian goth homes, if that makes sense. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what my inspiration is from. I'm not completely sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what the inspiration is from, because I do have a... That's not where you're supposed to go. I do have a small board of, like, what I want to do. Our Pinterest board, I should clarify. And I definitely need more. Blurp. But absolutely the inspiration is Gothic and Victorian. And then I've just kind of gone from there into whatever this is now. And I feel like I'm using a lot of fur, but it all just kind of works together, so I'm just sticking with it. Did I forget the roof? Oh, okay, yeah. I remember now. Because I accidentally did this one lower than it was supposed to be. And so I have to get rid of all of it and then redo it again. And it's almost nighttime. I can see the moon behind me. But piece by piece we should get this done. Wednesday we did the first 10 days, and then I've been busting my ass all weekend so we could get to 100 days. So we've done this video, this stream, the 100 to 110, and then I'm gonna bust my ass, so Wednesday we can do the last 10 days. And the last 10 days will be an early stream, so I can do all the last 10 days without sleeping. Because I have slept every single night to get done with this as fast as possible. With the exception of I didn't sleep a few nights while I was mining so I could get the chance of a minor moon. Or if a minor moon happened, I didn't sleep. Or I just straight up forgot to. There we go. And there's the spoopy music, finally. It comes and goes as it pleases. A spot here. How did I miss that? Gimme. Ron laid on you? Nice. Ron. Ron Weasley. That's just gonna stay in. It's a sleeper agent. Snape. Severus Snape. Dumbledore. That's gonna be stuck in my head for the rest of the night. Nope. Not what I wanted to do. I want to build! You can't make May. You can't make May sleep. Never! There starts the horror music. I just want to finish this little thing. I just want to get this done. Burp. Burp. Okay. You know, I'm willing to stay up this night. I just want to get this. I just want to do this. If I start getting attacked, then I'll go sleep, but I just want to do this. That's it. This is all I want to do. Just this. That's all, and then I'll go to bed and we'll call it straight. Just wanting his face all scritched. Oh, I've been in and out. In addition to like doing this all weekend, I've been busy all weekend, and so Dusty's just been loving the. He just wants attention. How do I have less? How do I have less deep slate than last time? Oh well, yeah, because I did the trim. Yeah, okay. Checks out. I need more deep slate, so I'll have to go back down into my mines. Okay. That's it, okay. That's all I can do right now. Burp. I want to do more, but I can't. I gotta place these few blocks, and then we'll actually, for real, call it. Bloop. Okay. I'm surprised no hunter zombies have come to me. Also, it took me a minute to land on this staircase. I'm still a little upset with it, but Ron Weasley. I'm happy I got that started in chat. Alright. Call it there. I need to take a break. My Mothman! My shoulders are killing me. Alright. Mothman. There's no need to feel down, I said, Mothman. Pick yourself off the ground, I said, Mothman. Okay. Okay. Also, by the way, Astral, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. It does help me out a lot, believe it or not. Most of this has been recorded over streamed. I do have a video, so as soon as we're done with that Wednesday stream, I will be immediately going to edit. And I want this out by Halloween. And the moment I have this video done, it will be posted. So I can get to work on getting a room for Tall on the SMP.